Welcome back to JForrest English. I'm Jennifer, and today we're going to read a news article together so you can become fluent in English. Let's get started. First, I'll read the headline. Robotaxi expansion gets green light in San Francisco. So we're talking about robotaxis, autonomous vehicles, self-driving vehicles. So a self-driving taxi. Have you ever been in a self-driving vehicle? I have not. So let's talk about this. The expansion gets green light. It's appropriate that they use this idiom. This is an idiom in English. I will explain what it means in just a second, but it's appropriate they use this idiom because we're talking about vehicles, and vehicles obviously use green light, yellow light, red light frequently. So it's very appropriate they use this idiom. Now, what does this mean? The green light in this idiom simply means approval. So the robotaxi expansion gets approval. Now, notice here they omitted the article the. The idiom is to get the green light. In newspaper headlines, they commonly omit articles to make the headline as short as possible, but grammatically it is required. So the idiom is to get the green light from someone to do something. So you can think of it as approval or permission. Both of them have the same meaning. For example, I got the green light from my boss to attend the conference. So the verb is get. You need to conjugate that. This is the past simple. I got the green light, remember, from someone to do something. From my boss to attend the conference, which means I got approval from my boss to attend the conference. Now, don't worry about taking notes because I summarize everything in a free lesson PDF. You can look for the link in the description. Let's continue. 2 robotaxi companies have been given the green light. So notice here, because it's no longer the headline, they use the correct grammatical structure. And notice here that it's to be given the green light. So the companies were given, have been given, which means they've received approval. So you can give the green light to someone to do something. Let's review these 3 sentences. So this is the sentence I provided above. I got the green light from my boss to attend the conference. Now, I could also talk about my boss giving me the green light to do something. In this case, I'm talking about receiving approval. In this example, I'm talking about my boss giving approval. My boss gave me the green light to attend the conference, or I could also use the structure to be given. I've been given the green light to attend the conference. Different grammatical structures, they all communicate the same thing: approval, permission. 2 robotaxi companies have been given the green light to start charging for service throughout San Francisco. The move marks a major expansion. Let's take a look at this. To mark a major expansion. Mark is a verb, to mark, and when something, the move, marks something else, a major expansion, it simply represents that something has happened. So this, the move, represents that this has happened. For example, today marks our first wedding anniversary. So today represents that something has happened, that our first wedding anniversary has happened. So something marks something. And we usually use this with significant events like a birthday, anniversary, or a national celebration or holiday, or an important world event like this major expansion of self-driving cars, autonomous vehicles. The move marks a major expansion for the companies, which previously faced limits on when or where they could charge for rides. When you charge for something, it means you require that someone pay for something. So you can charge the passengers for rides, but you don't need to include the someone if it's obvious. Obviously, they're charging the people who are using the service, so you don't need to say that. To charge for rides, to require that the passengers pay for rides. Before we move on, I just want to ask, are you enjoying this lesson? Do you enjoy learning English with the news? If you do, then I want to tell you about the Finally Fluent Academy. This is my premium training program where we study native English speakers on TV, movies, YouTube, and the news so you can improve your listening skills, fast English, and add all of these advanced expressions using correct advanced grammar to your speech to help you sound like a fluent advanced English speaker, and you'll have me as your personal coach. So you can look for the link to join in the description. Let's continue on. Approval from regulators came despite objections. So remember, approval, this represents our idiom, the green light. So you could say the green light from regulators came despite objections from police and fire officials, activists, and others. Thinking about our other sentence structures, you could say the regulators gave them meaning the Robotaxi companies, the regulators gave them the green light despite objections from police. So that would be said another way, but they have the same meaning. And I forgot the word light, so I added that in here because it's the green light. This is the expression that represents approval. So approval from regulators came despite objections from police and fire officials, activists, and others. So this means that these groups, all of these groups had objections, but they still gave them the green light. They still gave them approval. Analysts say the decision could usher in a new era for driverless car services. Let's take a look at this, to usher in. The phrasal verb here is to usher, this is our verb, to usher something in. And in this case, the something is a new era for driverless car services. All of this represents the something. When you usher something in, it simply means you welcome something or you signal the beginning of something, and that something is usually an important event. So in the world, because right now driverless cars, autonomous vehicles are not very common, this is an important event for the world, for the economy. So we can usher in this new era of driverless car services. Another important event that many people usher in, welcome, is the new year. And most people celebrate the new year. So you could use this phrasal verb to indicate how you welcome the new year, how you celebrate the new year. We ushered in the new year by celebrating with friends. Waymo, which shares a parent company with Google, so somehow Waymo is related to Google, and Waymo has been offering free rides in its driverless cars since last year, called the decision the true beginning of our commercial operations in San Francisco. So Waymo is one of the robotaxi companies. So obviously they're going to be very positive about getting the green light. So remember, Waymo as the company, they're the ones receiving approval. So you would say Waymo got the green light to expand their robotaxi operations. I'll write that for you. So I wrote that for you here. Waymo got the green light to expand the robotaxi operations. Now notice here they said they've been offering free rides. And remember before I said they can now start charging. So when you charge, you require someone to pay. When something is free, they don't have to pay. So let's say you flag down one of the taxis and you can say, oh, how much is it? And they could say, oh, it's free. Or there's no charge. If someone says, oh, there's no charge, it's another way of saying it's free. I wrote that here for you. How much is it? It's free. This is the same as saying there's no charge. Driverless car services have been slow to live up to the promises of transforming transport that accompanied the start of their development more than a decade ago. Okay, so this suggests that a decade ago, when the driverless car services began, when they developed, they said, we will transform the transport industry. But they haven't done that. This is what it means by they've been slow to live up to the promise. So of course, you know what slow means. It hasn't happened quickly. Let's talk about live up to the promises. To live up to the promises, this means to fulfill the promises. So if you do live up to the promises, it means you fulfilled them. And if you don't live up to the promises, which is what they're suggesting here, it means you don't fulfill the promises. Now, we also use this expression with expectations. To live up to something, very commonly promises and expectations. Now, if you live up to expectations, it means it's as good as the expectation. The expectation is what you think is going to happen. So let's say you're going to a new movie, the Barbie movie or Oppenheimer, and everyone says the movie is amazing. So your expectation is high. So if you say the movie lived up to my expectation, it means it was as good as you were expecting. And remember, you were expecting it to be good. You could also say it exceeded my expectations. So that means it was better than you expected. But if you say it didn't live up to my expectations, it means it was worse than you were expecting. So here, the movie was good, but it didn't live up to my expectations. Because remember, you thought the movie was going to be amazing. So your expectation was here, but then the movie was just here. So it didn't live up to your expectations. And hopefully you always live up to your promises, which means you fulfill your promises. If you say you're going to do something, you live up to that. You do it. So driverless car services have been slow to live up to the promises of transforming transport that accompanied the start of their development more than a decade ago. They have been bogged down by technology glitches. Okay, let's look at bogged down by and also glitches. A glitch is a problem or error, and we usually use this with technology glitches. In this case, because it's plural, problems or errors. Now, when something bogs something else down, it means that something like the glitches prevent someone or something from progressing. So this means that the glitches, the errors, the problems are preventing the companies from progressing with their project. So they have been bogged down. It's just written in the passive form. The companies, the Robotaxi companies, have been bogged down by these glitches, have been prevented from progressing by these glitches. Not just the glitches, there's also safety fears and high-profile accidents involving vehicles. If something is described as high profile, here the noun is accident and the adjective is high profile. A high profile accident is an accident that gets a lot of attention. So a high profile issue, a high profile person is an issue or person that gets a lot of attention. I wrote that down here. Now let's continue. The California Public Utilities Commission had twice postponed the vote. When you postpone something, it means you delay something. So if the vote was to take place on August 1st, but it was postponed, it means it was rescheduled to a date after August 1st. It could have been August 2nd. It could have just been postponed for 1 day, 1 week, 1 month, 1 year. We don't know how long. It's just later than scheduled. So delayed, postponed, delayed the vote. And on Thursday, heard more than 6 hours of testimony from the public, including supporters and critics. So testimony, this is simply the opinions, the expertise, the thoughts of the public related to this specific issue of approving or denying the Robotaxi expansion. So they heard it from both supporters, people who say, yes, I want the Robotaxi companies to expand, and then critics, those who say, no, I don't want that to happen. The board, this is the board, the California Public Utilities Commission, that is the board, approved the expansion 3-1. So 3 people said, yes, I approve. 1 person said, no, I don't approve. So there were 4 people in total on this board. Let's continue. Critics, people who opposed the expansion, critics raised concerns about safety records and claimed the cars often caused traffic incidents by abruptly shutting down. When something shuts down, it stops operating. And if it happens abruptly, it means it happens quickly and also without any warning. Let's look at this example. The glitches, remember, this was errors or problems. The glitches caused my computer to abruptly shut down. So to stop working, stop operating, and it happened very quickly without any warning. You were typing a document and then all of a sudden your computer turned off. That would be abruptly shutting down. Then you could say, I'm still waiting on the green light from my boss to buy a new one, because your boss has to give you the green light to buy a new computer because the company is paying for that computer. Let's continue. In the statement announcing the approval, commissioners acknowledged that data on how autonomous vehicle safety records compare with regular cars was limited. So they approved it. The commissioners are the people on this board, the commission, California Public Utilities Commission. This is the board, and this word commission, that's where the word commissioners, people who are on the board, people who are part of the commission, that's where that comes from. So these people, the 4 people, even though they approved the expansion, they gave it the green light, they acknowledge, they said publicly that they don't have data on the safety of the robotaxis compared to a regular taxi. But clearly that did not prevent them from giving the green light. And that's the end of our article. So I have a question for you. Do you give me the green light to make more videos just like this one? If so, then you can put in the comment section, Jennifer, I give you the green light to make more videos. Of course, I want you to practice this expression, which is why I want you to leave this in the comments. And I also want to see if you like this video. So if you give me the green light, then I know that you like this video and you want me to keep making more videos just like this one. If this is too long for you to write, I understand. You could also just simply put green light in the comment section so I know you want me to make more videos just like this one. So put that in the comments, only if you approve, of course. Now that's the end of the article. So what I'll do is I'll go to the beginning, I'll read the article from start to finish, and this time you can focus on my pronunciation. Robotaxi expansion gets green light in San Francisco. 2 robotaxi companies have been given the green light to start charging for service throughout San Francisco. The move marks a major expansion for the companies, which previously faced limits on when or where they could charge for rides. Approval from regulators came despite objections from police and fire officials, activists, and others. Analysts say the decision could usher in a new era for driverless car services. Waymo, which shares a parent company with Google and has been offering free rides in its driverless cars since last year, called the decision the true beginning of our commercial operations in San Francisco. Driverless car services have been slow to live up to the promises of transforming transport that accompanied the start of their development more than a decade ago. They have been bogged down by technology glitches, safety fears, and high-profile accidents involving vehicles. The California Public Utilities Commission had twice postponed the vote, and on Thursday heard more than 6 hours of testimony from the public, including supporters and critics. The board approved the expansion 3-1. Critics raised concerns about safety records and claimed the cars often caused traffic incidents by abruptly shutting down or failing to make way for emergency responders. In the statement announcing the approval, commissioners acknowledged that data on how autonomous vehicle safety records compare with regular cars was limited. So, are you going to give me the green light to make more videos just like this? If so, put green light in the comments below. Green light in the comments below. And make sure you get this free speaking guide where I share 6 tips on how to speak English fluently and confidently. You can click here to download it or look for the link in the description. And why don't you get started with your next lesson right now?